Solve the following equations. So in A, we're going to start by moving the 3 over to the left-hand side. So we just subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to get 4 over x plus 2 minus 3 equals to 0. And now we need to find the lowest common denominator, which is going to be x plus 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply each of the terms by x plus 2. So the first term is the following rational expression. So we're going to write x plus 2 times the first term, which is 4 over x plus 2, minus, and then we're going to multiply x plus 2 times the second term, which is 3, equals to 0. Now, for the first term, the x plus 2 here cancels against the x plus 2 in the denominator, and we're left with 4 minus 3 times x plus 2. We now just expand the 3 times the binomial using distributive properties, so negative 3x minus 6 equals to 0. Move all the numerical constants to the right-hand side. So we're left with negative 3x on the left-hand side equals to 6 minus 4. So 6 minus 4 is 2, and then we divide by negative 3. So that's our solution. Now we also need to state the non-permissible values because we're dealing with a rational expression here. If we go backwards, we see that over here, x cannot equal to negative 2. Same thing over here. So x equals negative 2/3 and x cannot equal to negative 2. In B, we're going to do the same process. We're going to move both of the rational expressions to the same side. So we're simply going to subtract the rational expression on the right-hand side from both sides. So that's going to give us 5a minus 3 over a plus 7 minus 5a minus 14 over a plus 1 equals to 0. And then because we're subtracting, we need to find the lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator here is simply going to be the product of the two denominators. So a plus 7 times a plus 1. And now we need to multiply each of the terms by the lowest common denominator. So it's going to be a plus 7, a plus 1, that's your lowest common denominator, times the first term, which is going to be 5a minus 3 over a plus 7, minus the second term, but first we have to multiply it by a plus 7 times a plus 1, lowest common denominator, times the second term. Okay, now here, this first multiplication here, it almost looks like the lowest common denominator is multiplied by the denominator here, which it's not. So I'm just going to move it a little bit up. Should be sitting right there. This denominator here, lowest common denominator, actually belongs in the numerator. But if we put it in front of the rational expression, that's fine too. And so now we can cancel this a plus 7 against this a plus 7. And this a plus 1 against this a plus 1. So effectively, multiplying each term by the lowest common denominator gets rid of the denominator in the rational expression, allowing us to solve it for the variable. So let's rewrite what we have left. From the first term, we're sitting with a plus 1 times 5a minus 3. And for the second term, we have a plus 7 times 5a minus 14 remaining, and that equals to 0. Next step would be to expand these two products of these binomials just using FOIL. So here I'm going to have 5a squared minus 3a plus 5a minus 3. And because there's a minus sign in front of that second term, we're going to put everything, the product here, in brackets. We have 7 times negative 14, which is negative, what is it, 98, right? Negative 98. Yep. Now we're going to drop these brackets, and as we do that, all the signs in here will change. We will also be combining some terms. We can combine these two like terms as well as these two like terms. We're going to do that at the same time. So now we have 5a squared. Negative 3 plus 5a is negative 2, positive 2a. Minus 5a squared. We have negative 14a plus 35a. That is positive 21. And then we have, so that's positive 21, but then we flip the sign because there's a minus sign in front of it. It's going to be negative 21 and plus 98 equals to 0. Now we can start combining like terms. We see that 5a squared cancels here. And then we have 2a minus 21a. That's going to be negative 19a. And then we have negative 3 plus 98. That's going to be positive 95. Equals to 0. And the final two steps will be to subtract 95 from both sides and divide by negative 19. So we're going to get a equals negative 95 divided by negative 19. So negative divided by negative cancels, and this equals to 5. And because we dealt with, or we started with rational expressions, we do have non-permissible values anytime we have the variable in the denominator. So if we start at our answer, start going back, none of that happens here, but it does happen up here. So right here, we have a non-permissible value of a cannot equal to negative 1. Over here, a cannot equal to negative 7. And same thing up here. So these will be restrictions on the variable. So a cannot equal to negative 7 and negative 1.